Hey you, yeah, you right there. Eagerly waiting to uncover the mysteries of what women truly desire. Welcome back to Psychozone, where we are about to embark on a journey into the shadows of relationships. Brace yourself, because what you thought you knew is about to be turned upside down. But first, let me share a secret. There's a hidden truth lurking beneath the surface. Something that might just change the game for you. So grab a seat, lean in a little closer, and let's dive into the untold truths that women want but might never tell you. So let me take you into the shadows where the nice guy dilemma resides. It's not what you think. This might be the one thing standing between you and the meaningful connection you crave. But let me address a harsh reality up front. If you've been cultivating a nice guy persona, it might be detrimental to your chances of building and sustaining attraction with a woman, because your niceness might be undermining your relationship. It might be eroding respect. It might be eroding that desire and admiration from women. But fear not, guys, because change is possible. A high-quality woman desires a man who asserts himself and maintains his autonomy. Surrendering your power to her can lead to a lot of respect and attraction. So don't do that. Now, pay attention, guys. The key to unlocking the mystery lies in assertiveness. I'm not just talking about confidence. I'm talking about power that can change the very fabric of your relationships. But be aware, because not everyone is ready for this revelation. So here's a twist in this tale. Have you ever wondered why women are drawn to dominant men and alpha males? Well, guys, the answer lies in the primal instincts that echo through centuries. Because a high-quality woman desires a partner who exudes strength, who exudes confidence, and assertiveness. So evolutionary speaking, women have been wired to seek mates who display qualities that ensure survival and protection, because dominant men project a sense of security, a sense of leadership that appeals to the innate desires of a high-quality woman. So it's not about being overbearing, it's about being a reliable and capable partner. But hold on, there's more. Nice guys travel for reasons hidden in the shadows. It's not just about doing the right thing. It's about the very essence of authenticity and the dangerous game of giving away your power. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Nice guys might attract more than they bargain for from emotionally demanding partners. Those who play a very dangerous game. But stay with me, because the plot thickens. So what I'm saying in conclusion is that the secrets we've unveiled today are not for the faint-hearted, because a high-quality woman desires more than meets the eye. So transforming from a nice guy to a confident, assertive individual is the key, but it comes with a price. So the question is, are you ready to pay for it? So think about that. That's all for today's video. If you found these untold truths helpful, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button for more relationship insights, and also ring the notification bell so you never miss out. Until next time, stay assertive, stay authentic, and happy day.